She turned down the $1 million deal that tried to win her back.
Like I said earlier, they actually had odds that, she was like third or fourth in the betting odds to be MVP of the WNBA. That's such a slap in the face to every WNBA player. It's unbelievable.
Revenge doesn't always come with noise or fury. Sometimes, it arrives quietly, through a single choice that changes everything. For Caitlin Clark, payback didn't mean clapping back online or calling anyone out. Her revenge was silent, and absolutely devastating. She said one word .no to Geno Auriemma to UConn's legacy.no to the $1 million deal that came crawling back years later. On paper, it sounded crazy, turning down 7 figures for 8 weeks of basketball. But this wasn't just another offer. It was a lifeline from the same man who once dismissed her, doubted her, and treated her like she'd never be enough. When Caitlin turned it down, she didn't just reject the money, she humbled the man who thought he'd never be humbled.
That's the worst part about new fans. They have no perspective. There's no context. So they just say ridiculous nonsense.
Because this was never about stats or trophies. It was about power. For decades, Geno Auriemma stood as the gatekeeper of women's basketball, the man who decided who mattered, who got the spotlight, and who disappeared into the shadows. But Caitlin Clark shattered that system. She didn't chase his approval, his program, or his paycheck. She built her own empire from scratch. So when he finally came knocking, she didn't need to say much. Her silence said it all. I don't need you. You need me. Every revenge story starts with one mistake. Geno's wasn't a bad play or a bad timeout. It was arrogance. Before Caitlin Clark became the face of women's basketball, before the sellouts, the ratings, the millions of fans, she was just a kid from Iowa with a dream. And for her, UConn wasn't just a school, it was the dream.
What does bother me is some of the people I deeply respect. Their basketball credentials, their basketball history, their commitment to basketball and women's basketball, I think have really not covered themselves in glory with some of this commentary.
The dynasty, the empire, the home of Taurasi, Moore, and Stewart, the mountaintop of the sport. So when recruiting season came around, the path looked obvious. The most electrifying prospect in years joining forces with the greatest recruiter in history. But that call never came. Geno Auriemma never reached out, never called Caitlin, never even contacted her parents. His excuse: UConn already had Paige Buchers. He didn't want 2 point guards. Fine. Logical, maybe. But then he took it further. Geno claimed that if Clark really wanted to be a Husky, she should have called him. Think about that. The same coach who built a legacy on spotting generational talent before anyone else decided Caitlin Clark wasn't worth the effort, and then blamed a teenager for not chasing him. That wasn't just a recruiting miss. It was disrespect.
The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart.
And Caitlin Clark never forgot it. She didn't respond with anger. She just stored it away that if Geno didn't believe in her, she'd find someone who did. So she chose Iowa, a program without UConn's banners or mystique. To outsiders, it looked like settling, but to Clark, it was freedom. At Iowa, she wasn't Paige's backup or Geno's afterthought. She was the centerpiece, the one everything revolved around. And from her first game, everything changed. Those logo threes weren't just shots. They were statements. The sold-out arenas weren't coincidences. They were proof, and every record, every viral moment, every shattered rating said the same thing: you missed this. But Geno didn't learn. He doubled down, brushing her off with smug remarks, calling her the kid playing like she's in the driveway. What he refused to see was what everyone else already knew. Ordinary players don't sell out Madison Square Garden. Ordinary players don't pull the WNBA into the mainstream. Caitlin Clark was never ordinary, and she made sure the whole world knew it.
This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie.
Here's where the irony hits hardest. Geno was the one who shut the door when Caitlin came knocking. That he thought she'd fade away, just another name on a long list of could-have-beens. Instead, she built the biggest empire women's basketball had ever seen, without him. So when Geno came back around, contract in hand, trying to buy his way back into relevance, Clark didn't clap back. She didn't celebrate, she just said one word. No, that single word cost him more than any championship defeat ever could. But Geno couldn't let it go. He kept trying to tie her success to his legacy, comparing her to Paige, dropping her name in interviews, forcing himself into her story. It was calculated, but
the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP at the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning.
backfired. Fans saw through it. Analysts saw through it. Even other coaches saw through it. Caitlin Clark didn't need Geno's validation. She'd already outgrown his empire. Then came the breaking point. June 2024. Geno sat down on the Dan Patrick Show and went too far. He didn't just criticize Clark. He attacked her fans, calling them delusional, and claiming they were hurting women's basketball. It wasn't analysis, it was bitterness.
Now, there's a lot of investors in this league. One investor, been trying to keep quiet about, his investment in the league ever since his comments that he made about a young rookie. Pretty much, had him in the headlines for about a month and a half. That is Geno Auriemma, dog. I'm here to tell you, he's part owner of this league.
Millions of new fans had discovered the sport through Clark. Families, kids, first-time viewers. They were filling arenas, buying jerseys, turning WNBA games into must-watch events, and instead of celebrating it, Geno mocked it. But time has a funny way of humbling arrogance.
They've tried to do everything they could to make the most of the situation. They tried to make the most of Caitlin Clark not playing by hinting everything and basically making people think that Caitlin Clark was going to play.
Caitlin didn't fire back online. She answered on the court, Rookie of the Year. All WNBA first team, fourth in MVP voting. Exactly where those delusional fans said she'd finish, and with that, Geno's credibility collapsed. Every fan he dismissed was vindicated. Every critic silenced.
You see it on the NBA side, and you're going to see it on this side, where, you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball.
Caitlin didn't need to gloat. The results spoke louder than any tweet ever could. Night after night, she let her game do the talking. Logo threes, ankle-breaking crossovers, jaw-dropping assists. By season's end, the question wasn't whether she'd lived up to the hype. It was how completely she'd crushed every doubt. Geno's words aged like milk. His comments became the punchline to a story he thought he was writing. But here's the truth. Caitlin Clark wasn't trying to prove him wrong. She wasn't thinking about him at all. She was just being herself. And that was enough to end his reign that he once thought he was the kingmaker of women's basketball. But Caitlin Clark didn't need a king. She became the queen, and she built the kingdom on her own.